What if better health decisions came from understanding what's really going on, not just doing more? Welcome to Sanando Juntos, Healing Together with Alma. I'm your host, Dr. Alma, pharmacist turned functional health coach. This podcast is for people who want clarity around their health without overwhelm, extremes, or quick fixes. Here we talk about the mental, spiritual, and physical foundations of functional health and how science, intuition, ancestral wisdom, and lived experiences all play a role in real life health decisions. My goal is to help you understand patterns, make sense of your symptoms, and feel more confident about what steps actually matter next. Grab your cafecito, your matcha, or whatever's fueling you today, and let's talk health. Salud. Welcome back to Sanando Juntos, Healing Together, but today it's Healing Together with Alma and Emir. I'm having a bit of a cough situation, so my apologies, but I had to record this to get this out to you, and I'm very excited for this episode because my husband Emir will be joining today, so I won't be doing all of the talking anyway. Plus, it's Valentine's Day for us, so what better day to have this conversation? I want to tell you a little bit about my husband Emir before bringing him on. Like me, he is also Mexican, came to the US as a baby, grew up in an immigrant household, and was the first in his family to go to college to become a civil engineer. He's the practical one that likes to have everything on spreadsheets while I just roll my eyes at him. But not only is he my Valentine, he is my rock and my biggest supporter. Emir is also my podcast editor, so major thanks to him for helping me out because I wouldn't be able to get these out to you without him. This September, we will be married for 10 years. And as you already know, my health pivot happened right around that time. But it actually started even a few years before that while we were still dating. So a large part of my health journey didn't just happen to me, it happened to us. I remember one time he asked me if I had a return policy. Like, okay, sir, this is a marriage. There are no refunds. But I get it. He had a point because when one part of the equation changes, it affects everything else, like our food, our routines, conversations, and even the vibes in the house. This man did not know he was marrying someone who would eventually dissect ingredient labels, clear the house of processed foods, and experiment with biohacking. And to be fair, I didn't know I was going to become that person either. Today isn't about giving marriage advice or acting like we've mastered everything and we know it all because we don't and we haven't. But we're going to just talk openly and honestly about how love, growth, and health have evolved for us over time and what that even looks like now. Welcome to Sanando Juntos, my love.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tell me how you're feeling about being on the podcast.
Well, I believe this is my debut, and with everything that's new, you're a little nervous, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, you'll be great. I'm super happy to have you on here because I think this would really help people understand why navigating health and lifestyle is so important, especially in the household where all kinds of healing begins. All right, so to begin, I would like to start with our love story because it's kind of cute. Do you want to tell it or should I?
Sure, I can go. I believe it was either 1984. I know the picture that we have is 1985.
Are you going to tell our age?
Well, sorry, I didn't know it was a
Okay,
big
it's
deal.
okay. We won't edit that. Go
Uh,
ahead.
so the story began thinking back in the early 80s in a little preschool called Tricon. Our parents were kind of local immigrants, so they needed a place to drop off their kids. So that was a very popular spot for kind of low income parents. Our families dropped off the kids there, and that's where we first met in the preschool. So then after that, our families were just acquainted with each other. I believe you moved to a city where my cousin lived, and so I always knew about you. And yeah, that was about it. I mean, I don't know, we reconnected in years later on, so I don't know if I missed anything important, any good details.
So basically, we first met in preschool, but neither of us remember that, obviously.
We have vague memories about it, but nothing concrete.
We have a picture.
There's a picture.
Yeah, our
Physical
class
evidence.
picture. We're on there together. But other than that, no, we just reconnected later on. Like you said, you moved on. You were that kid who graduated high school and you moved on to college right away, where a lot of us other immigrant kids kind of stuck around and didn't go to college, at least not right away. Had a different path. A lot were married or pregnant at an early age, and that was me.
Typical.
I got thanks. But yeah, after all of that, we went to the same school. So, but not at the same time.
Same college.
Same college. And you went 4 years earlier than me?
Correct.
Yeah.
2004, that's when I graduated, and I believe you began your master's program in 2005.
Yeah, I began my doctorate
Oh, sorry.
program
My doctorate, yes.
in '05. So we like missed each other, but we're still both Badgers. So we went to the University of Wisconsin, Madison. So we had that in common when we actually reconnected after I got divorced, and I, connected through your cousin who you mentioned. So that's how we reconnected. We had the whole Badger thing in common, but also we just had a lot of other things in common, like our upbringing and our values and things like that. So
Yeah. And our parents are from the very similar towns or neighboring towns in Mexico.
yeah.
So the town where your dad is from, we always go to because it's like the next biggest city in our area. So we're familiar with that, and also obviously familiar with Acapulco, where you were born and where your mom is from. So
Yeah, yeah. So we have that connection too. So when we go back to Mexico, it's kind of nice to be able to kind of go to our roots together where we
sure.
were both, born. So when we reconnected, we ended up dating for a few years and then we got married. Before we talk about our journey together, I would like to get a little background about your lifestyle or our lifestyle as children. So I'll go first so you can see what I mean. I grew up on Mexican staples, basically the frijoles, the protein, sometimes the protein in chiles or like a chile con huevo, viste en chile, things like that. And veggies on the side for us, it was usually like lettuce and cilantro, not really the other kind of veggies, but more like greens. Also, tortillas, of course, salsas. And then my mom actually never had junk food in the house. It's either because we weren't used to it, but also because there was probably not enough disposable income to just have junk food. We had the necessities. And then we also never drank soda. That was not a thing that we had in our house. So once my siblings and I got older, that's when we were the ones that started introducing processed foods into the house. So we're the ones that brought in the Cheetos, the Lucky Charms, the spaghetti, and basically all of that stuff that would be considered a more American diet. So what about you? What was your lifestyle with
From
food growing up?
from what I can recall, it was kind of a mixture. I know that we had a lot of Mexican staples, the same thing. I always remember the tortillas, regular corn tortillas, because my cousin lived fairly close to me, and I remember that they would do the white tortillas, which was kind of odd. But we also had a lot more of the pizza, the American stuff, the sandwiches. I know that we had a lot of, I guess, American friends over when we were kids, and a lot of them were not Mexican. So sometimes my mom would feed them, and she would have to kind of conform to their likes, And so it was a bunch of sandwiches, pizza. The fast food started kind of younger with the McDonald's, the KFC, the Wendy's. I do recall one time there was a Brown's chicken. I had it and it was just too greasy that I got sick over it, and so I wouldn't eat that. I didn't really grow up drinking a bunch of soda. Every once in a while I would drink it, but not that often. So it was kind of a mixture here and there with the processed food definitely starting kind of earlier than we probably should have. I know skim milk was a thing that got started on early, which probably wasn't necessary, but who knows at that point what doctor study they were following and saying that
Or
these
trend?
kids, huh?
Or trend?
Yeah, that the kids should drink skim milk. So I do recall that.
All right, so now we kind of get an idea of how we grew up. Now let's fast forward to college. And so we mentioned before our college experiences were a little different. You went to college right after high school, so you did the whole college experience as like a single young person that, goes off to college. And so when you went off to college, what was your experience then with regards to food and to health, I guess, lifestyle in general?
I remember that we had like a cafeteria, so they obviously had the servings of your staple protein, carbs, and vegetables. And I probably went more towards the protein and the carbs, not necessarily a lot of the vegetables. Once I got to college, I did lose weight from when I was in high school. So that was good, whether it was just exercising more or eating a little bit better now that I was on my own.
I don't know if I caught this part of your answer, but what were your thoughts on health back then?
I know that you had to eat vegetables, eat protein, I guess the typical food pyramid or food plate, whatever was available at that point. But that was about it. I didn't really think too much about it, didn't really see doctors when I was that young. So I didn't really have too many things to think about it, just to be honest.
Yeah, it's easy when you're young not to think about health. So when we were dating, I think like most people, we were eating out all the time and we were big drinkers and partiers too. And it was kind of crazy. We weren't really focused on longevity or getting older at that time.
Yeah, you're young, you think you're invincible.
Yeah. But would you be willing to share what your health pivot was or when you started to think about your health more?
I guess the big change came, no, 2010, I believe it was. I was working at a chemical demill project in Lexington, Kentucky, and I received a phone call from a coworker who asked me if I would be willing to travel to the continent of Africa and work at a job out there. And I was like, you know what? Sure, let's do it. I had been at a job for 13 months, and then so I started preparing to move out there. And part of the requisite was getting a full physical workup. Obviously, traveling out of the country, you have to have certain immunizations, certain shots. So when I went to get the checkup, they found that my blood glucose was high, and then they immediately put me on metformin. I went to see a doctor, and they officially diagnosed me with as a diabetic at that point. So then I had to be more conscious about what I ate. And then going to overseas was a little bit more difficult just because I wasn't sure what kind of foods were available then. So, but it was for the most part, I did vegetables and protein. I can recall right before I left, I did have a meeting with a nutritionist that would talk to me about the different carbs and how much grams was in each thing that I ate and what I needed to keep an eye out for. So I was a little bit more conscious about that. But then that's kind of when it started.
Yeah, so you left me and you went to Africa and then you came back to me and eventually we moved in together. So this was before we got married. We were still dating. But do you recall when we moved in together what your thoughts were about when we were creating our meals together?
I don't really recall. Um, I feel like we were still doing the same thing, like kind of when we were dating. I know that if I needed or wanted something to eat, I would just go get it, whether it was fast food or to the nearest grocery store, or I would ask you if you wanted something. Most of the time, if it was fast food, you'd say no. Every once in a while, you say yes, and then feeding your daughter, same thing. Just ask what they wanted, and with your parents also too. So, but specifics, I don't. I can't can tell you. I don't recall.
Yeah. So it seems like it wasn't that terrible of an experience. But I actually do recall that at that time, I had, I was a pharmacist for a few years. And so my idea of eating healthy was the standard American diet, right? Following the food pyramid and, the no fat, no sugar, a diet, everything. And, eating the amount of grains they recommended and all this whole grain, this and that. So, really not focusing on the frijoles and the protein and the chiles that we grew up with, although we ate it from time to time, our staples were more of an American diet that we thought was healthy. And then I want to add to that that on top of that, we both at that time were running half marathons quite frequently. So that's what we thought we were doing for exercise and for our health. And y así la llevábamos hasta que you proposed. So now we had to look forward to our wedding and we knew we had to look good. So what did we do? Do you remember what we did for that?
I can't remember the name of it, but it was I think was it something Geary, some guy that had like a plan, food wise, exercise wise, and we followed that for a while before our wedding.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember his name either, but
Was
and
it
I
like Geary?
actually,
Something Geary, I think.
yeah, yeah, Kevin,
Kevin Geary?
Kevin Geary,
Kevin Geary. Yeah.
and I actually, because we bought like his plan, and it was a few $100s, right?
I don't remember. I don't
Yeah, and
recall.
I think a couple years after that, which we'll go back to the question, but a couple years after that, I searched it because you're supposed to have lifetime access, and it was like gone.
Was it?
Yeah. So I was like, what a jip. But anyway, so what his thing was, it was eating like a wild diet, or basically it was keto.
Yeah.
So we did the keto and we followed his like keto diet, and then he also had a workout plan, so he did kind of like both. So we were following that. Basically, it was the keto diet, but while we were doing the keto diet, I do want to go on a little tangent here. Do you remember when, because we were really strict about it because we obviously had a goal to look good for our wedding, but do you recall what our friends and family would say when we would say something like, "Oh, yo no quiero tortillas"?
They would just kind of look at us weird. I remember one situation we went to eat with my parents, and we got like that's when we started getting like our protein style burgers with the lettuce,
Yeah.
and we asked like no bun, and like we just got weird looks, and like the people, the cooks, the restaurant, they weren't up to date with that kind of things yet, and they just kind of acted weird when we had that request. But yeah, we were making that a lot more often at that point.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely got a lot of pushback, a lot of questions, and I don't know if they were always good intentioned questions, more judgmental, but that's kind of an interesting take on how they were responding to us trying to change our lifestyle. So,
Yeah, now it's like the normal.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
everything on the menu is like that. Even like In-N-Out burger has a protein style and without a bun. So
yeah, yeah. So we were like ahead of our time. But going back to our story. So yeah, that's just a quick note about, that people aren't always going to be supportive, and that's okay. You want to keep your course. It's your health, not theirs. And like we just said, we were ahead of our time, and so now it's kind of more the norm. But anyways, we did accomplish our goal for our wedding. We looked amazing at our amazing wedding. We lost the weight and we looked great. And then your labs at that time were phenomenal. I think they were the best they've ever been, right?
I don't think so. I think they were actually better when we were working with a functional doctor. They were still good at that point right before the wedding, but I think they were that my A1C was the lowest when we worked with that functional doctor.
Oh, okay. But I do remember that as a turning point for me because when I looked at your labs, it like became this revelation of how the healthy American diet that we were following was not producing the labs that you were getting. But when we did our own research and changed up our lifestyle according to what we wanted to do, your labs looked better. And to me, that gave me like, it basically taught me that what I had learned was really a crock of shit.
I agree.
And so, that was like a big highlight moment for me when we were changing our lifestyle.
Because that's when we were doing the high fats,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, and it was like going against these traditional American diet, and it was like, well, if that's the case, why are my labs looking so good? So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But this is not a plug for keto though. It worked so well for you, but it totally destroyed me.
correct.
And if you missed my story on this, you want to go check out episode 1. I talk all about it. But basically, because I did keto, not that I did keto, but that I did it for too long for my body. And even though I look great, it was really the gota que derramó el vaso for me and my health. So it's just to say that while keto is great for some people, it doesn't work for everybody. But we'll get into that in a different episode. For now, after our wedding, we no longer had motivation to stay the course, but it just so happened this is when I started to not feel well. And that's when you were asking for a refund, remember?
Refund for
For me. like if I could be returned.
Oh yeah, but I didn't keep the receipt because you were falling apart. You were like, I'm falling apart, and then I was like, well, can I get a refund? You're like, no.
Yeah. But so this is when I went to go see the functional doctor. And so that's when the whole experience changed my life. Against that's in episode one. So I won't get into that. But this really changed my whole perspective on health, not only as a patient, but also as a healthcare provider. But here I want to shift the conversation now because I would like to get your take on how this affected our relationship and the energy of the household. Can you tell me from your perspective what it was like to see me go through this difficult health struggle?
Yeah, it wasn't great because the things that we used to do together, you couldn't do them anymore. So had to be changed, and yeah, it was a struggle. We once you found like a better course of action as far as food wise, we kind of changed that up a little bit. I mean, to this day, some of this stuff I'm always kind of reluctant because I'm not sure how it's gonna work. But I guess you've proven and shown that without testing it, without trying it, you don't know. We've tried a bunch of different things to see what would work the best. So
So you kind of alluded that earlier to that when we were talking about your lab tests that they were the best when you were seeing a functional provider, but I went to see the functional provider first. And what was your initial thought about functional medicine at first when it was just me that was going?
I thought that you had gone through the a traditional Western medicine, all the doctors that you're supposed to go see, and none of them were helping. So obviously something was wrong because you couldn't do the normal thing. I realized that maybe there wasn't a proper explanation normal doctors could give you, so you had to try alternative medicine. And then I think that the functional doctor definitely helped because it provided you a different perspective on what was going on inside your body.
Was there a moment where you realized that it was important for us to change our lifestyle?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that everybody does nowadays, and people always like, oh, I have to change my diet, I have to not to eat this, not eat that. But the biggest thing is that it's not necessarily just your diet, it's your lifestyle. You have to go through a variety of things to make sure that you make it the norm for you to be healthier and not just when it's a new year, I'll get the new gym membership and I'll go on this diet. But a lot of times what happens is like people lose weight and they gain it right back and sometimes even more because they don't change their lifestyle. The proper thing you need to do is change your lifestyle, not just the best fad diet at that point.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And I do want to add to that that for context, when we talk about changing lifestyle, once I started in functional medicine, it kind of trickled into everything else in our lives. And we not only changed what we ate, but also we changed our toiletries. We changed, the stuff that we use at home down to our cleaning products. So over time, this was something that was a lot of changes to our entire lifestyle, not just food. Were you always on board with making these changes?
No, I think I mentioned it before that I was always hesitant just because we had been taught and America taught us and the government taught us that this is what you need to follow. And then you're trying to think outside the box and kind of bring in these new products, lifestyles, and I was reluctant to change, but after kind of seeing the results, I could see that this was the proper thing to do. It was the correct results that we were looking for.
What do you think was the hardest thing about changing habits?
Well, I guess just doing it. You know, they say that it takes 21 days to change a habit, and sometimes things needed to happen quicker than in 21 days, and you didn't have that time. And but you had to apply it to yourself, apply it to the family a lot quicker, and just nobody likes change, so any kind of change it just took a while.
So, what annoyed you the most about me during this phase? Be honest.
I think the most annoying thing is that you always wanted to change things, and I would be reluctant to it, and then like we later on we find out that it was true. So then it was just like I don't know, that was just annoying. Like why are you always trying to change things? Like you get used to this one thing and then it's like you're changing it again. So I don't know. I guess is that a good answer? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I guess it makes sense, but it's just things change, right? Like as we know more to change things up. So, yeah. What would you say I got wrong in the beginning?
I think very little. Like I
Mm.
said, there was things that you wanted to change, and then it worked. I mean, a good example is SNL had this sketch where they there's like a future traveler, and they said that this guy came out and said that eggs are bad, and like he would come back into the future and be like, oh, actually they're good now. And then like a couple years later, he come back. He's like, no, no, they're bad again, and then come back again, and I go, oh, actually, they're good. And it's just like you have it's trial and error. And one thing that we've learned together, I think, or you knew that you've taught me, is that sometimes you have to follow the money. Who's doing these studies? Who's producing these new results? And sometimes it's Coca-Cola, Pepsi,
Right.
Procter and Gamble. They're the ones who are paying money to say, oh, Cheerios, it's really good. Lucky Charms, it's really good for your kids and all this stuff. So,
So I think that you may have already answered this, but I'm going to ask it again just in
okay.
case. Did it ever feel like I was trying to drag you into something that you weren't ready for or that you didn't yet have the mindset to change yet?
Yeah, I think I just didn't have the mindset. I mean, I've, and still to this day, just kind of been living life normally. These new things that you kind of develop, learn and stuff, it's different. So I'm just like hesitant to be like, well, I don't know if I want to do that just yet. But in the long runs, I know that a lot of the stuff you have introduced have changed things for us for the better. So I think less reluctant or maybe more open to trying stuff, but it's just trial and error as always.
Yeah. And I thank you for saying that. And I think you already, not to be repetitive, but I think you already kind of alluded to it that um I do think it's important to say these things honestly because when one person wakes up to something, they can get really intense with the new thing that they want to do. And I know I definitely had moments where I was really intense. What do you think you had to learn about partnership during that season of life?
I just had to be open to it. I mean, just because I felt one way didn't mean it was the right way, and then just because you felt the certain way doesn't mean that it was the right way. We had to find a good compromise and kind of meet in the middle to make sure that we kind of evolve together and move forward together, and made sure that if that it helped out our lives, our lifestyle, our family.
Yeah, and I also think it's important to acknowledge that you can't really make somebody change. And a lot of people think that they can make other people change, but that's not true. People aren't going to change until they want to. And that's something that's really important to just know and hold space for that. And for us, I think it was easier because even though we had our differences, you were always on board. I don't know if it's maybe you just are more like you just go with the flow, you're easygoing. But if we were changing meals or making a meal plan or something like that, you just you just were you were on board, and then we would just work with that, and then we would just make it for both of us, which was just easier for our lifestyle. It's just why make separate meals when we just make it, and you weren't like picky. And so I think for
I
us,
just
that's what,
wanted good food.
yeah. And so for us, that just makes it easier for us in our lifestyle. Did it feel like we were growing at the same pace?
No, I think you were ahead of me, and I was catching up, sometimes slower. Eventually, I got there, and like you're saying, it's easier to do together instead of just one person at a time.
It definitely did make it a lot easier that we didn't have that to fight about. I heard a lot of people when they talk to me about, how they're going to implement their lifestyle, that they get a lot of pushback from their family or, their partners, and I find that to be difficult because I didn't find that here in our relationship, and so I do feel like you could still implement your lifestyle alone, but it's definitely much easier to implement it when your partner's on board. So now I want to talk a little bit about the differences in views as a man and a woman. Do you think men approach health differently than women?
I guess it just depends. A Latino man doesn't focus on health like maybe a Latina woman, but I feel like an American male nowadays will be more focused on health, or maybe an American woman as well. I think nowadays these younger kids are focusing a lot more on their health than they did before. So in that respect, that's different. Yeah, for us growing up, wasn't one thing on our priority list to do.
You, you're,
That we had to go to the gym.
are you saying like as a man versus woman, or you think it was the same?
Um, I think it's the same for us, like our generation.
Hmm.
I don't think health was a priority.
Do you think our Latino culture additionally impacts how men and women view health?
Yeah, definitely. I think I remember as growing up and I was skinnier sometimes, all my tias or mom would be like, "That's flaco, eat some more." And if in reverse, if they see like a sister or a sobrina or somebody be like, "Oh, ya no comas, estás gordita," or something like that. So I feel like that like, they implant things into our minds as how we're growing up and how we look. So some of us may pay attention to it more, and some of us may not, as far as male and females go.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I think also one thing I kind of want to add there is that I definitely feel like the common experience is that as a eldest daughter, uh, our fathers, and I see that in like uncles and the male figures, they're very reluctant to go to the doctor.
Yep.
They're very reluctant to get care, or God forbid they get a colonoscopy,
It's too
right?
macho.
Yeah, so I feel like that really impacts their health because they're not getting that proactive care that they need. Versus the women, they do their checkups and things like that. So I definitely do see a difference with the male figures in the Latino community. Do you think there's anything about masculinity or pride that made it harder to shift the mindset around health?
For me, I don't think there is. I think our generation is a little different. I definitely notice it, like in your dad, my dad's generation, where they're more reluctant to go ask for the help. I think that went away with our generation, or at least for myself, where I mean, I'll have to do what needs to be done. Doesn't matter. I mean, I was raised more by my mother. My dad always had to work, and so as a young kid, like I always washed the dishes, I cleaned my clothes. I had to live on my own, and so I did a lot of the stuff that the household, I guess, tradition called for a male and a female and stuff. And even now, like I do a lot of that stuff. So for me, no, but I could see it in older generations.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I married you, because you did all that stuff on your own. I didn't have to like cook for you or wash your clothes. It was amazing. So props to your mom for that, for teaching you all of that. So, do you think that women misunderstand how men process change or shifts in their mindset?
Definitely. I think culture-wise, men in the Latino culture, like they don't process their feelings or show their feelings, show affection. So the women sometimes don't know what's going on because the male won't talk to them. Even if they're married, even if it's like brothers or sisters or whatever, they just don't talk about things. And so there's definitely a misunderstanding in that regards. And I blame it on the men. I think it's up to them to talk about it. The women can ask what's wrong so many times, and then you just say nothing, or you're fine, and there's nothing else that they can do.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that comes from what they were taught too as growing up, right? That generational
Correct.
teaching that men should not express their feelings. They should not talk about what's going on with them. They should not show emotion, especially, God forbid, they cry, right? So that's all kind of passed down to them. And so they keep passing that on. And yeah, there's a certain time where that needs to change, but not every man is willing to change that or recognize that that's a pattern that needs to be broken so that the women and the men can not be so disconnected from each other and help each other, like you said, when they need help. If someone listening right now is trying to grow, they're trying to make changes in their health, habits, or mindset, and their partner isn't ready, what would you say to that spouse, being the spouse that is ready to change something, but their partner isn't?
Don't be a jerk. Listen to your spouse.
Okay, that's pretty simple. I think
Yeah.
that's great communication. What would you say to the person that feels like they're being left behind?
Catch up. I mean, you got to get on board. You know,
There you go.
The train is leaving whether you're on it or not.
It's true. As you can see, healing and making lifestyle changes is a process. It tests communication, patience, and the ego of the other person that's not ready. So neither of us handled it perfectly, and we're constantly always still working on it. It's a process all the time. I don't think you ever arrive at an end goal because it's just something that you keep working on throughout your life. And now for funsies, I just want to do a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
This is going to be great.
We'll see. Who takes longer to get ready?
You do.
Yeah, that's easy. Of course I do.
It's because the hair. I don't have any.
Yeah, but no, still hair, makeup, outfit, all of that. Who is stricter about food?
You are.
Yeah, I am. Who cheats more on health habits?
I do.
You're the worst.
Right now it's difficult because it's Valentine's.
Oh, okay. It's difficult because it's like Christmas. It's difficult because it's like New Year's. It's difficult because it's always difficult because of some reason.
Exactly.
But yeah, yeah, I would say you do. I'm a little better, but I'm not perfect. So there's that. Okay, so we're both a little bit sick right now, but who is more dramatic when sick?
You are.
No, I'm not.
I am not. I don't complain or anything.
You
like
are
that.
super dramatic.
In what way?
You're just like, you just like lay there.
I
you're
just
like,
lay there and that's it. I'm just like, I'll take care of myself. And I feel like you need extreme pampering.
I don't know about extreme pampering, but I mean
I
a
don't
little
know.
bit of like,
Well,
here, I care.
Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Okay, I'm here like, can I make you some tea? Can I make you some food? Can I do something for you?
It's like, sure, but I can do it.
But you don't do the same for me.
Yeah, you just tell me what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's nice if you would ask.
Well, because
So I'm
I
not
don't
being
know.
dramatic. You're just not
I
showing up
guess
for me.
I just don't know.
You should know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost 10 years. I'm sure I've been sick a few times.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you're always changing teas and remedios, and so I'm not sure where we're at.
It's not that hard.
Okay.
Keep up. Isn't that what you just said?
Well, no, I'm on the train.
Catch up.
I'm on the train, but you moved on to a different boxcar.
Catch up. Who regulates better during stress?
I'd probably say me, based on the aura ring. I don't know. Do you think you regulate?
Yes,
Okay.
I think I regulate much better.
All right, then you win.
Who is more likely to forget supplements?
You are.
Yeah, I do.
I've gotten worse, but I used to be better.
But on the other hand, we didn't have to take that many supplements
this is
because we're
crazy.
doing this protocol with a new provider, and we've been taking a lot of supplements. So in that regard, it's been easier to forget them. But yeah, usually it's me. But in my defense, there's supplements and they're not meds, like, that I have to take. So that's my excuse that they're just supplements and it's okay if I miss them. But I only take one prescription and I'm pretty good about taking that one.
You are.
So to close out, I want to ask you two more questions. What does healing together mean to you in real life?
Like raising a kid, it takes a community. Everybody's got to be on board in order to kind of take care of each other. Because if you don't move together, then it's not healing together.
If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Eggs are good. No, just uh, be more mindful of the stuff that you ingest, the metal toxins, the plastics and stuff that is out there that we didn't know about. And yeah, just kind of be more mindful about those things.
Okay. I feel like we could keep going, but we'll end it here. Babe, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. I know this is not exactly your comfort zone sitting behind a mic talking about feelings, but I really appreciate you showing up anyway. And I want to say this here publicly. You have supported me through every phase, the pharmacy phase, the big pivot, the label reading, pantry clearing, we're not buying this anymore phase, all of it. And you don't always agree with me. You definitely question me, but you stayed, and that means a lot. I love you for your patience when I get intense and being willing to grow, even when it wasn't your idea. We're still evolving, we're still learning, but I'm really grateful we're doing it together. Happy Valentine's Day, my love.
Happy Valentine's Day. Love you.
Before we officially close out today, next week is our final episode of the season, and it's just me. I'm going to share some personal updates, how I'm navigating my own health right now, what I'm experimenting with, what I'm reading, what's working, what I'm rethinking, the real life. And I'll also talk about how you can work with me if you're ready to stop guessing and start leading your health with more clarity. Thanks for spending this time with me on Sanando Juntos, Healing Together. I hope today's conversation helped you see your health a little more clearly and feel more grounded about where to go next. If this episode was helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it too. That's how this community grows and how these conversations reach the people who need them. If you're ready for more personalized guidance, you'll find ways to work together and learn more in the show notes. Until next time, cuídate mucho, trust the process, and remember, we heal juntos siempre. Ciao, ciao, baby. But wait, there's more. The legal stuff. I gotta say it. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace medical care. I'm a pharmacist and a functional health coach, but I'm not your personal healthcare provider. Talk with your physician or qualified healthcare professional before making changes to medications, supplements, or your health routine. Take what resonates, move at your own pace, and make decisions that feel aligned for you.